All right, what's going on, guys? Card Collector 2 coming at you here with a brand new video, and this is going to be another installment of Collections, Card Shops, and Collectors, a series we're bringing to you on YouTube, highlighting the best of this great hobby. We are here today in Indianapolis, Indiana, visiting with my friend Andy at Indy Card Exchange. Andy's been like a mentor to me in this hobby. Is one of the first people I ever reached out to when the opportunity presented itself to buy a card shop in May of 2019. Andy was also actually going through a new shop purchase the same time I was. They actually just rented this new space, signed a lease at the end of 2020, and he went through the building a card shop process the same time I did, so hopefully he'll be able to speak to a lot of that today. So let's go inside and take a look at this great shop. All right, guys, we are here today with Andy at Indy Card Exchange. As I mentioned before, Andy has been a friend of mine and really a mentor since as long as I can remember. But really, our relationship took off when I had the opportunity to buy the shop in May of 2019, and we've just become super close throughout my card shop journey. Andy's kind of taken me under his wing and given me a lot of advice throughout the process. So I've obviously had the ability to be here before and to see this, but I feel like this is one of those shops we just have to show the world because I feel like this is really one of the best card shops in America. So, Andy, really appreciate you having us out here today.
Man. Happy to have you guys here. Yeah, it's great. I love it.
So,
thank you.
As I mentioned before, Andy, you bought the shop in 2012, but it had been open since 92?
92, yeah. Almost 30 years old, and moved down to Indianapolis after college in 2001. First thing I looked for was my local card shop, right? And cool. Became friends with that owner, and literally was one of his best customers because I busted so much high-end wax and everything. 2011, we started talking. I could tell he was just kind of getting worn out. He was getting a little older to retirement age, and I said, "What are you gonna do with the place?" You know, just to strike up a conversation, right?
Yep.
I don't know. He just kind of hem and hawed about things, and I said, "Well, if you're interested in doing something, I would love to buy a card shop." I said, "That's my ultimate dream. It's always been my ultimate dream." It took about 5-6 months, and 6 months later he comes to me, he's like, "You ready to do it?" "Yeah, sure, let's do it." So that was it. So May of 2012.
What was the market like when you bought it then? Because I know you've told stories before about Topps basketball, last year Topps basketball. I know you were really big into that set with Curry, and I knew you knew what it meant at the time. So what was the market really like in that time when you bought it?
Good question. I mean, it was picking up, but not nearly like what it is in the last 3 years, right?
Sure.
I had two strategies when I bought this card shop, and they were complete blind strategies. One was, I'm in my mid-30s, and I have a son. I want him to enjoy the hobby the way I did when I was a kid. Sure. So I want to get more people to come into my shop and be able to feel like, oh, this is a cool atmosphere, and relive their days. Even though we had the 80s and 90s crap that we had to deal with, they've got good stuff to deal with now in the 2012 era. Yeah. That was my first strategy. My second strategy was, we just drafted a guy named Andrew Luck in Indianapolis. I mean, literally the draft was the month before I bought the card shop.
Gotcha.
April of 2012. And I'm like, I want to get in really early. I actually paid the guy an extra amount of money to buy the shop 4 months faster than what he even wanted. So it was supposed to be like September, October of 2012. And I said, can I give you more money and actually buy it in May? He said, let's do it. So that was the strategy, right? Andrew Luck cards, because everybody was going to be asking about Andrew Luck. So that was one of the things that just kind of set the tone for owning a card shop.
Andrew Luck was certainly one of my favorite moments in the hobby. That was one guy I was big on early, but was certainly one of the most disappointing moments of the hobby when I still remember the day he retired. August 29th of 2019.
Yes.
Retired.
I was at my wife's 40th birthday celebration eating dinner with her, and my phone just started blowing up.
Yep.
I mean, it was crazy.
I remember that like it was yesterday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and then I felt the financial pain of how many good Andrew Luck cards I had still sitting back.
I remember that was that national. I went in and I was like, one of the guys I wanted to buy was Andrew Luck, and I picked up some cool stuff.
You bought a Contenders ticket.
0.5 from Pristine.
I remember that.
Yeah, 0.5 from Pristine.
That's crazy.
I paid $1,800 for it and put it up on eBay the next day for $4.99. and never ended up selling it. All the rumors came out, a month later that, is Andrew Luck going to come back to the Patriots when Brady, I'm like, for this much money at this point, I'll just keep it.
You still have it?
Yep.
Me too.
Yep.
I have all mine left too.
Still have it.
Only lost like 30 grand. No big deal, right?
So,
oh, man.
But yeah, I'm sure we'll hear many more cool stories as we go, but want to get into the tour. And I think the first thing you'll notice, especially when you walk in this place, is the supplies. This is, I've toured, a couple other spots, and this supply offering is really one of the best I've seen, and it's pretty impressive considering where we are in the hobby now. And I can tell you personally, and I've said this before, supplies are one of the hardest things to get in the hobby right now. I mean, it was harder than retail at one point. You could find a blaster box easier than you could find a pack of top loaders. But you've certainly got one of the best supply offerings. So
yeah, I mean, it looks like we have a lot. There are a lot of products already gone that we can't get replenished right now. It stinks, but we've worked hard at trying to make sure we order a ton. We cater to our local audience. We don't sell our supplies online. So that's kind of let us keep our supply inventory, supply chain kind of under control because it's local customers only. And then, I've built some vendor relationships that have helped me get some manufacturing from other areas to get more boxes, more supplies, more plastic, things like that. So, you try to stay a step ahead of the curve in this thing. And it's not easy to do, as you know. I mean, you've got your card shop rolling and you are staying a step ahead, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's tough, right? It's, I see you've got a lot of the things over there that we have, right? The 1 pack per person, right? I mean, you want to stay competitive to where they are online, right? You don't want somebody the whole goal of a card store is for people to come in here, not go online, right? I mean, that's one of them. And, you've got 1 pack limits. When we first started and when supplies really started ticking up, we noticed a lot of people were coming in and just buying all of them because you were so much cheaper than online. And it's like, you have to limit it because you really want everybody to have a fair shot to get some supplies at an affordable cost.
And that's one thing we did too, is we're keeping our price points still similarly to where they've been 2 years ago, pre-COVID, right?
Sure.
That was our number one goal, is make sure people, because I know this is a long-term relationship with my customers, I want them to come back to me and see that I haven't jumped top loaders at $10 a pack and then lower them back down to $3 a pack when we all know the dust is going to settle, kind of thing. So that's our goal, but trying to do the best we can to cater to our local customers.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, as we continue on, I noticed this. This wasn't here last time I came, I don't believe. But what is this?
So this is basically we call it our grading station. I hired an employee named Kevin. He's awesome, and I trained him to sit down and have consultations with customers. We all know how expensive grading is now. We all know how time consuming it is. We all know how long the turnaround times take. So our goal, literally from day one, it was to sit down with a customer. We charge them $1 a card, and we review their cards. We tell them what we think it's going to grade. We tell them whether it's worth grading or not. 2 different consultations, right? And then let them decide, and it's a cost savings to them. Grading being $25, $30 a card for just a bulk submission is too expensive for this person to send in, an 88 tops Brett Saberhagen that we even get people bringing them in. It's crazy. I'm like, no, you don't want to grade something like that. So no, we have grading consultations. We usually do 5-6 appointments a day now.
Really?
That people reach out to us through our website and set up a consultation appointment. And Kevin and I both do grading consultations, and I also now buy collections by appointment only because the demand is so high for people to sell. So it's nuts, but this is a great area. We got the nice LED lights. It feels professional when you sit down and things are actually done where they know that we're not the PSA or Beckett experts, but we do have a lot of knowledge in what you should or shouldn't grade. Yeah, very cool. I think that's super helpful. Like you said, it's not cheap to do this anymore. It's no longer $12 a card, and this is a very expensive thing to do, but it can add value, right? If you know what you're doing, you know what you're looking for, it's a great service to offer. What I tell my customers, I'm like, guys, these grading companies don't need any more money than what they already have coming in. No offense to the grading companies out there, because we love them and respect them, but they don't need any more money. We want to make sure our customers are in this for the long haul, and they're not spending $500 on cards that they only should have spent $200 in grading.
Sure.
Something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now what about this?
So these are like vintage bargain box areas, right? So these are literally commons of all 3 major sports from the early 1950s all the way up into like 1979, what we consider vintage. So, when we buy big bulk collections, we put most of the commons in, mid to average grade condition, all in here, and we just sell them at a bargain price. You know, you can have 3 for $1 for a certain year, or $2 a piece for the really old stuff, kind of thing. It's great, you know, like all ages. I mean, but there's definitely an older crowd that comes in looking at vintage, right? Trying to complete a set, looking to upgrade their set, and they'll grab boxes and sit at some of the tables and just sift through all the cards and have a blast. I mean, they love it.
Is this a Dave Jarvis project?
Dave is part of it. You know, Dave Jarvis, he says, is one of my favorite people in the world, who's been working for me for 5 years. Dave does pricing. He sits right there in that corner where that chair's at. He'll price vintage, he'll price modern, he'll price bargain boxes. He loves it, and he's like my card dad. So it's nice to have somebody like that that looks out for you.
Yeah, that's one thing I struggle with in our shop is really the vintage. It's just a time period I don't know as well, so it takes a lot longer for me to get it out as it requires more look. It's knowledge I don't have at the moment, so I've noticed when I've come in before.
Because I did not have vintage knowledge at all. Back in 2012, I was high-end basketball and high-end basketball. That's it. So I mean, I knew baseball and football enough to be dangerous, but vintage market, I had a mentor that really helped me understand condition, you know, what you do with the cards, how you price them out, what's attractive for customers, you know, how you display them, things like that. You know, he likes them in graded semi-rigids as opposed to top loaders, things like that. It just looks better, you know what I mean? So presentation and understanding, it's a time-consuming process, but it's fun. It's become one of my favorite things to collect and buy when it comes to collections.
Yeah, I think it looks great, and I think, like I said, it's you mentioned every age group, right?
Yeah.
We do a lot of the modern now, but there are still people looking to complete these sets and look at these cards. So
we try to provide is the diversity for everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so as we move on, before we get into the showcases, I want to talk about the memorabilia, because this is something I've tried to implement in my shop, and you guys have seen our Building a Card Shop documentary. I've got the Jordan, the Tiger, the LeBrons. I love having that stuff in here, and I really got the memorabilia feel, the memorabilia idea from Andy, because as you can see behind us, this is impressive, and I think it is so cool. You walk in, and it's one of the first things I notice every time I walk in here is all of these, you know, signed jerseys, frame pieces. So what made you do this rather than, you know, there's a lot of things you could put in here, right? There's a lot of different things in the hobby. Why this?
I love color. I mean, like, it pops, right? Sure. You know, like when you're opening packs of cards, you want the shiny stuff. That's why Prism sells the way it does and that kind of stuff. But memorabilia is not a money maker, really. Sure,
100%.
It's just the margins are like this, but they look good. And it just gives people more of a warm feeling. You walk in, you're like, oh crap, this is neat. You know, like, and I stare at them all the time. And I own the stuff. And I mean, it's just fun to see all the different colors and all the players, and we interchange them. If we sell one, we've got a stack of probably 10 more along the wall, and one sells, we put another one up. It's kind of fun. You also want to know, like, what are people looking for? So you got to have locals like Darius Leonard and Peyton Manning, right? Cubs, and then you got your superstars, Luka and Trey and Pat Mahomes and King Griffey Jr. So yeah, it's just a fun thing. It's definitely eye candy is what I call it.
100%.
But not big money maker.
Every time I come in here, and since I came into the shop, you know, that you guys used to have, that's one thing I always noticed was just the amount of memorabilia was so cool. So I think it's great, and like I said, I try to mimic it myself because I think it's a really neat thing.
Yeah, it looks good for sure, and I like that you have at your shop Jordan above LeBron. I did notice it. We
will get into that later. There's a reason I've got the LeBron shirt on. We will get into that later, but we will let that comment slide for now.
All
right. So as you could probably see, as you know, before the video started, one thing you guys will probably have noticed is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 showcases?
10. Yeah.
So it's one thing I've complimented Andy on is really the amount of different things in the shop in terms of single cards. These showcases are full. And I know it's one thing we've had a conversation on before is I use a lot of eBay, right? Try to hit the audience throughout anywhere in the United States, but you're really big on like having an awesome selection in shop. Any reason in particular that you've gone that route rather than, you know, flipping things on eBay or other avenues?
Yeah, it has, because I kind of carried over the tradition of the previous shop of having good selection. Building up a good clientele that we have, they expect it now. And my goal is to like exceed their expectations when they walk in. You know, I want them to have a chance of buying a Sandy Koufax rookie card or a graded mantle that's a high grade, you know, and have that selection available. For vintage, we don't do any online vintage stuff because I want to keep that attraction in my shop. Modern, we kind of have a rule of thumb where we'll put it in the shop first because my customers, in my mind, I want them first right of refusal. If they have a Patrick Mahomes graded optic rookie 10, they get to have it on the shelf for a couple months. If it doesn't sell, then we take another option. Whether we do the eBay route or we go to StockX or we take it to a show, things like that. Yep. But everything really kind of filters through the shop first. Even the National, people are excited because the National's coming up, right? Yep. We put our display cases of what's going to be at the National and give our local customers a 2-day preview with a chance to buy what's going to the National before it goes to the National.
Interesting.
It's a cool idea, let the people that take care of you be taken care of and have that first chance. So they feel kind of special that they have that. So that's our goal. I mean, that's a long-winded explanation because I talk a lot too. I don't talk like Ryan Bannister, but I talk a lot. No, I'm just kidding. I love that guy. But no, it's just giving our customers that variety, and that's been kind of my goal from day one when I bought the shop.
So so we'll walk and talk, but what sports, so I see a lot of vintage. What do we got? 4 showcases worth of vintage. Yep. And then you've got, this
is all modern football.
Okay.
So we have an entire case for modern football. Graded's usually on the middle shelf. We actually have a quarterback shelf. This was one of Kevin's ideas, which was great, to make an entire middle shelf just nothing but quarterbacks, because we all know how well quarterbacks sell.
Sure.
And then a lot of Colts stuff. We've got Peyton Manning stuff and Marvin Harrison. So yeah, that's been good. Mostly you're going to see quarterbacks because that is what sells the most.
100%.
And then we move down. We've got modern baseball, rookie graded, Acuna's, Trouts, Sotos.
Stuff that
everybody wants. Yeah, Jeters, Griffeys, a little bit of everything. But we also want to cater, it's weird being in Indianapolis, 3 teams in baseball are who we have to supply: Cubs, Cardinals, and Reds. A little bit of White Sox. But Cubs, Cardinals, and Reds sell really well around here because you're literally 2-3 hours from every location. Yep. So it's kind of cool to be centralized with all those baseball fans.
Interesting.
This is my favorite. This is called the GOAT Corner.
I see LeBron on top there.
LeBron's on top.
That's interesting.
Because I didn't have as many LeBron cards to display. The bottom shelf is all MJ. And you can see all those little bullet holes in there like Ryan Bannister calls them. Yep. That means they've sold recently. So I like that. Kobe's in the middle. Got a few Durants, got a few Currys. I just call it the GOAT Corner, and it's all basketball. I just love this corner. So this was my idea again, just create the true GOAT on the bottom, baby GOAT up top.
Very cool.
Yep, and then modern basketball, and we've got, actually, ironically, modern soccer. We've taken over 2 display shelves in the last 3 months because soccer's exploded so much.
That's awesome.
Soccer's probably our second best selling unopened wax behind basketball right now.
Really?
Around here.
Wow.
We have a huge soccer following.
Yeah, see, for us, it's definitely football, and then everything else kind of fights itself out.
You guys have a lot of hockey too, right?
Yeah, we move a good amount of hockey. I mean, Blue Jackets are local.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's it right there. So singles.
Impressive, like I said, it's super, super cool. It's one thing I've struggled with is as much as I want to be able to expand our reach and to be able to offer things to anybody who, somebody's in Arizona and wants a Christian Pulisic card that we have. I want to be able to offer it to them while also supporting the local customers. So it's, do you increase buying? Do you offer everything in shop first and slow down on eBay? So it's something I've struggled with, but I think it's something you do very well with just having, this is great. I mean, you could come in here and find anything you want.
I wouldn't call that a struggle though. I'd call it a strategy. I mean, your strategies have been very, very on point because it's what you want to do.
Sure.
You've got a national presence, a brand. I respect that and I love that. And the fact that you've dove into making sure everybody knows who Card Collector 2 is, it's amazing to me.
Thank you.
I mean, just to see the growth in 3 years or less. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're all grown up now, Ryan.
So I think one thing I was gonna talk about it in a minute when we get to the card bar, but like I said, you have something for everybody. That's something I talk to Jimmy about a lot. It's like when Jimmy calls it Card Shop 1.0, right? You go in there, there's a lot of stuff unorganized, it's kind of everywhere, it looks messy, it's dusty, it's very transactional. You're not sure if they have something because if you ask, the owner might not be super friendly. Jimmy and I talked about this a lot. But I think that's one thing that's really important in today's day and age, and it's something you do incredibly well. It's like, hey, do you have Pokemon? Got Pokemon. Hey, do you have something for my nephew who's 5 and wants a cheap pack? You've got that, right? Do you have a high-end Michael Jordan PSA graded? You've got that, right? So just wondered if you could talk a little bit about the importance of having something for everybody, like you mentioned earlier with age groups. Just figured I would see your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I still live by the mantra of know your audience, like know your customer when they walk in the door. Sure. ask a lot of questions, which I think is one of the things that lack, is not enough questions are asked. Who do you collect? You know, what kind of budget do you work with? You know, like ask those type of questions. Are you a collector? Are you an investor? Are you doing it for the money only? Like, I mean, we can guide people in the right direction, and everybody needs a card shop, right? I mean, we're kind of dinosaurs in the industry, but they need a card shop. They need that advice. They need that comforting feeling, a peace of mind that they're not spending their money frivolously, right?
Yep.
I don't want to be that way. If I walked into even a restaurant, I want them to give me a suggestion of what kind of food I should order. Yep. That's just like you said, Card Shop 101, create a relationship first, then kind of figure out where the chips fall for that person.
Very cool.
And they'll come back. I mean, that's why we try to keep what we have and know everybody's names as much as possible. I mean, I screw up every day and the guys make fun of me. You're like, oh, Robert. No, it's Ryan. I'm sorry, man. I tried. Yeah. But it's almost like the attempt is better than not knowing, you know what I mean? Sure. So yeah, just relationships is important to me.
All right, so as we move on, you'll see it here, but you also see it here.
Yep.
This is one thing, we got to see it in Jimmy's card shop, and it was really where I got my idea originally, but Andy's also got something really unique as well. So card bar, right? This is really, I think, one of the staple pieces in my shop, and it's one of the coolest things about yours. So why this, and how, you know, what is it made of?
So let's kind of go back to what was Andy Albert's favorite things to collect, and who are my favorite sports icons, right? Notre Dame football, Michael Jordan. Those are my two favorite sports, anything. So I thought, gosh, I kind of got the opportunity to make some sports history in one little piece of furniture kind of thing. And my dad and I talked randomly, complete random conversation. He just mentioned that he had 500 Notre Dame bricks from 1996 when Notre Dame remodeled their stadium. And he bought those bricks at a public auction for season ticket holders, and it's been sitting in a warehouse for 26 years. So I'm like, gosh, I wonder what we could do with those things. And then the bar came around, and the bricks were the first start of the bar. I had no idea what I was gonna do with the bar top. Sure. But these bricks are original bricks from Notre Dame Stadium from 1930 up until 1995 when they did the remodel, because we got a sign that says a piece of the house that Rockney built, which is kind of fun, you know what I mean? And then I was down in Florida on vacation with my family, and I literally was just drinking coffee one morning. I'm like, man, what could I do on the bar top? And the Jordan stuff just popped in my head. I'm like, I've got a crap ton of Michael Jordan cards just sitting in boxes. Let's have some fun with them. You know, yes, we're ruining cards, and people were giving me, you know what, about it online and everything, but I mean, it turned out so well, and I'm so excited, and it's like a passion project. Sure. I don't care about how much the Jordans cost that I ruined. It's a passion project. Sure. You get to see my childhood basically on a bar top, and we can talk about any card you want to. Which ones did you waste money on? Which ones did you spend too much money on? You know, why did you put a fake Jordan rookie and sign it on there? You know, those kind of things. Just, it's great. So this is, to me, there's no value you put on this. It's a piece of history, in my opinion. Hopefully it's here forever.
Yeah, and I think it looks amazing, right? I'm glad you did Jordan. We want to keep the LeBrons in mint condition, but we'll let that go. But I think it's like Jimmy and I talked about it so much, and it was really where, like I said, I got the idea originally from Jimmy, where like come in, sit down. It's a spot to like hang out. Again, not transactional, right? Jimmy always says if you don't spend any money, oh well, come in, tell a story. The money will come. Exactly. Money will come later. Yep. But it's a great spot to sit and look at all the cool Jordan stuff. It's just, it beats coming in, and I just remember so much of my childhood going into different card shops, and there wasn't a place to sit. They didn't want you to sit down and hang out, and this is the complete opposite. So I think it's amazing. It's
a culture shift that I think a lot of shops that care are making that transition. Sure. This is a destination place. You can hang out. You can be here for hours if you want to. Rifle through bargain boxes, sit at the bar and watch sports, talk to us, you know, whatever. That to me is the most important thing, is just changing the culture in the card shop industry so that people do feel like they're welcome for more than just a 5-minute transaction.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Why? So we got to ask, Jordan is better than LeBron?
Is there even a debate? Look, you're standing right behind the GOAT.
I mean,
you're in front of the GOAT.
You ever seen a play like this though?
He blocked a shot. He did a good job blocking a shot. He ran really hard back to the other end of the court.
Okay.
He, you know, out of those 9 championships he was in, he's only won 4 of them. I mean, 6 for 6 is a tough thing to beat, my friend.
Yeah,
it's
9 in a row though.
Yeah, 9 in a row. Okay, I'll give him that. Jordan would have had 8 in a row if he wouldn't have had to take a hiatus for a couple years.
But I mean, LeBron never lost. I mean, until this year, LeBron never lost in the first round. I mean, was going so many. Took a team at 22. I just figured we got to get this in there, right? Since
I mean, okay, so 1985, 86, Michael was already in the playoffs, right? Took a while for LeBron to even get into the playoffs.
What, 2 years?
Right? Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a long time. No,
we go back and forth in this forever.
I argue with so many people on a daily basis, you know, and there's such a generational gap. Sure. They're both amazing players of all time. I mean, you put them at kind of 1A and 1B, but I mean, I'll never convince you that Jordan's greater than LeBron. You'll never convince me that LeBron's greater than 100%. Jordan. You know, I fight with like Josh from Cardboard Chronicles. We had that fun debate one time too. But I love basketball. I love the history. We all need a generational player.
Sure.
And Jordan was my guy. I mean, I grew up in South Bend, so I was only 2 hours from Chicago. Got to see Michael only one time in person, but got to high-five him. We were at a preseason game at Notre Dame's basketball stadium. The Bulls were playing the Sonics when Sean Kemp was playing because he's from Elkhart, Indiana. Very cool. And Michael and Scotty and Dennis came out of their locker room, and my dad got us seats where we got to lean out and high-five them. So that, you know, wish I would have never washed my hands, but that's awesome. It was pretty awesome.
All right, so as we wrap it up, I think we've got to talk about this. We go back to the having a little bit of everything, and this is certainly a little bit of everything, right? So
more than what we need.
Yeah, so in terms of wax, right, is there any sort of strategy here? I mean, it looks like you've got packs, you've got boxes, all different sports. I mean, something like you said earlier with the singles, right? Every different age group, right? A kid now might want the Pokemon or, Fortnite cards or anything here. So any comments on this?
Selection is very important. The nice part about us being a long-standing shop was being able to get allocations. So we all know the strategy now is you have to buy kind of everything.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff, it's almost a lost leader, but you want to have it on the shelf. The menu is good. I mean, I love the menu of what we have available, and we try to compete in pricing as much as possible. See, it's Sunday and we still get phone calls coming in. Yeah. So the competitive pricing to me, we're doing our best. People can look online, try to find prices, and then hopefully see something that's at or better than what they're gonna find anywhere they look. Yeah. Because to me, again, that gets somebody back in the door. I don't want this to be a one-time stop where they either have sticker shock, which you're gonna have that with some of the high-end stuff, right? Yeah. But they know that they're being taken care of. And we don't sell a whole lot of stuff online either when it comes to wax either, just because our local audience has been committed enough to enjoy what we have available for them.
Yeah, I think that's so crucial, and it's something I always try to take from you is like the relationship matters. And I like the sign, right? Somebody, you have got that sign up there. It says where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came, right?
Yeah, that came from Jake, my manager, who I couldn't do this without him. His mom had that sign custom made for us because she knew that one of our mantras is to know everybody's name as much as possible. So she took the old Cheers theme. Hopefully we didn't break any trademark violations on this or anything.
All right, so as we wrap it up, one thing I wanted to ask, I want to start asking these throughout this is, you've been in the hobby for a long time. You've seen ups and downs, you've seen a lot of good, a lot of different things. If you had to start over today, what advice would you give yourself today knowing what you know now?
Man, that's a good question. I still go back to the relationship aspect. To me, knowing what I know now, I know that in the downside of the hobby, which it's gonna happen again, we all know that, we just have to be prepared for it. We have to make people feel comfortable, make people feel welcome, make people feel like the relationship is going to be there even when there's a 50% dip on wax and singles that we're already starting to see. I got into the business, I'm like, I gotta make money. I gotta provide for my family. I gotta just do everything I can to make sure revenue's coming in. And that culture has definitely shifted, in my opinion, to I wanna make sure everybody knows that they're cared for when they walk in. So, it's more than cards to me. It always has been more than cards to me. It's, I've gotten to develop the best friendships you could possibly have in the 9 years I've owned this shop, all because of some cardboard on the shelf, Yep. There's haters, there's naysayers, and I drown that out too. Like, I don't really try to fuel any fires. If people are upset, I prefer that they talk to me about their issues right away and we knock it out. Conflict is sometimes beneficial for all of us. Get to the other side of that conflict and figure out the root cause. So relationships, that's really where I'm at, is if I could do it all over again, I would have worked harder at the beginning to build those foundational relationships.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's important is, you know, the relationship, right? I said I'm young in this, and it's something I want to be able to do for a long time. I really, really enjoy this. Like you said, the beginning, this was your goal from the start. This was my goal from the start. This is something I've always wanted to do, is be able to own my own card store. So I think that's important, is, you know, having that relationship.
Well, you've hitched your wagon to a lot of good people. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn because I want to help you as much as I can, but, you know, Jameel and Ryan and, you know, Jimmy, obviously. Jimmy's one of the best people you'll ever meet in the hobby, and he's not just teaching you card shop lessons, he's teaching you life lessons almost in everything that he talks about.
Yeah, 100%.
You're like waiting with bated breath for the next thing he's gonna say, kind of thing, and I love that, you know?
Yeah, those are like, that's super true, right? Those are the best people I know, and they just happen to also collect cards too and own card stores, so makes it even better. But appreciate the time today. Appreciate you having us out here. Where can people check you out on Instagram, Twitter?
So Instagram is Indy Card Exchange. You can search it. It's at Ball Card Exchange. On Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. IndyCardExchange.com is our website. It's very informational. There is some sort of retail side to it, but it's very informational. And then come see us. You know, like I said, we want this to be a destination place all over the Midwest. Come see us. And
what's the address?
Address is 7035 East 96th Street, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46250.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for
having
having
us.
I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you guys checking it out. That is all we got for this one. Peace.